my name is Sophie. I work in SwiftComply Customer Success, and today we're going to go over the 101 guide for all the basics for using your SwiftComply system. Let's get going, and we'll get you using SwiftComply in no time.
All right. Welcome to your SwiftComply homepage. This is the homepage that city regulators see when they log into their SwiftComply accounts. You can see that this is our test environment here. Normally this will be your city logo, jurisdiction logo, whatever. So there's a lot of information right off the bat here. We've got our number of open establishments, contacts, grease control devices, some graphs using that same information. Down here we can see we have pump out information. We can organize this by date. So I've entered from the beginning of the year to now, how many gallons of fat, oil, and grease have we collected? And it's quite a bit, which is exciting. Come down here, we've got more graphs showing types of inspection, compliance, notes that are taken, which I'll show you in a little bit. This is our compliance history graph. And on the very bottom of our homepage, our recent non-compliant establishments. Hopefully your list is smaller than ours. But these are establishments that have very recently come into non-compliance. So just a nice quick snapshot for you. This might not be the most used section of your website, but if you have to send off a quick report or gain some really fast information, it'll all be right here for you. But for now, we're going to navigate up to our Establishments tab up here and click on Establishments. And this is where you're probably going to be spending a lot of your time. So this is how you search for establishments. This is where all of the establishments in your database live. So when we search, we can search by name or address in this first bar here. I'm going to start by searching Alex because I know I'm looking for Alex's Ales. Pops up right there. Or let's say I know there's a business. I know it starts with 500. Here we go, Mama's Pizza Express, right on 500th Street. So that helps right there. You can search name or address in that bar. This right here toggles a bit visibility based on whether it's open or closed. So if you've marked a restaurant as closed, but you still need to search for it, you can look right there. This is how you can search by tags. We'll go into that in a little bit when we look at an establishment. And this piece is really useful for city regulators, so we can search by compliance. So let's say I need to see all of the establishments in my system that are non-compliant at the moment. I'm going to enter non-compliant, I'm going to hit apply, and here we go. And these are all of our non-compliant establishments. Let's say I need overdue and non-compliant. I'm going to apply that here. And now all of our establishments that are both overdue and non-compliant are going to show up in this list. Let's say I need to export this list of overdue establishments and send that off. So I'm going to go to Actions, Export, and there's some options before I can export this list. So I'm probably going to need the name of my establishments, their emails, phone numbers, business address. You can pick whatever information is relevant to your search and click Export. It will export as a CSV file, and you'll have all of the information in the list you generated. So any of the establishments that are showing up in this list is what will be included in your export when you choose to export it right here. Also, as you can probably see, big green button, this is how we create establishments. So click Create Establishment, some pretty simple information for you to fill out, very straightforward. From here, we're going to go into an establishment page just to see how the information is kept and what it looks like for a city regulator. So this is Delicious Donuts, an establishment I just created. We can see all of the kind of static information that's going to stay the same is housed right here on the left. So if we take a look, we can see service frequency, the most recent pump out, most recent inspection, the restaurant type, who the service provider is, their address, phone numbers, email, all live in this section right here. And if I need to change some of that information, I can just go Actions, Edit, and it takes me into a space where I can edit and change this information. So the name, the logo, but we're coming to service frequency. So service frequency is really important because it's what tells our system when this business is overdue. for a pump out. So say that it's been a few days past the 12-week mark and this Delicious Donuts hasn't entered a pump out yet. That's going to tell our system to send them a message and it's time for them to enter a pump out. So the number of messages that get sent out, how soon or late after a pump out is due they're sent out, that's all up to the city. That's super customizable, the wording of them, anything you want. But this service frequency tells us when to send out those messages. The provider down here is another important piece as well. Having a provider listed on the establishment page allows the provider to enter pump outs for this establishment. So if I didn't have Always Ready Pumpers listed there, Always Ready Pumpers wouldn't be able to enter pump outs for Delicious Donuts. Not all service providers like to enter pump outs for establishments, but this gives them the ability to do so. If you have an establishment that maybe has a small under sink unit and they just clean it themselves, we can just type self and select self cleaner. But we're going to keep Always Ready Pumpers for our training purposes. Moving down to tags. So tags are a nice temporary way to mark an establishment with important information. So let's say that we've got two of the same address on file and we don't know which one's right, or we need to get another piece of information about this establishment. I'm probably going to type review needed right here, and that's what's going to tag this establishment with this review needed information. So I'll show you how to search for that in 1 second. You can see we can add multiple addresses, multiple phone numbers, and multiple emails. So I'm going to hit save with that tag. We're going to go back to our establishments page, and I'm going to search by review needed. And now I can see Delicious Donuts popped up because it's got the review needed tag. So the tags are just a really helpful tool for giving you quick ways to search places. So I'm going to go back to Delicious Donuts. I figured out my problem. Get rid of that tag. Hit save, and now we're all back up to date. These features and properties in the left side here on the static information are totally customizable. So let's say you need permit number instead of permit expiration date, or you need a facility ID number. We can add all of those spots on this page just according to your specifications. Those are all changed in the SwiftComply admin panel, which is explained and talked about in another video. So we're going to scooch on down to grease control devices. We can see that we haven't added a grease control device yet, so we're going to go ahead and do one. So we just hit manage GCD, and we're going to add a grease control device for Delicious Donuts. When naming a grease control device, we recommend naming it the same name as the establishment. This is just really helpful for when you're searching for a grease control device later, and it helps kind of remove confusion. So we're going to name this one Delicious Donuts. I already have it ready to go. We'll say it's a GGI. I don't have any tags I need to add. Inside 12 weeks, we can say that it's compliant, non-compliant. Once again, all of this information is customizable, but we're going to say compliant. And we'll say it has a capacity of 50 gallons. You can also choose to add files here. Some cities like to have pictures of the grease control device plans. Or we can select from existing grease control devices and attach them to this establishment, but we're just going to hit save. And now we have a new grease control device called Delicious Donuts. If you have maybe a mall or a strip mall where several businesses share one grease control device, we can just go over to the actual grease control device page here. We can see that right now, this Delicious Donuts grease control device is just attached to Delicious Donuts. But like I said, what if Delicious Donuts is next door to Alex's Ales and they share one big grease trap? I'm going to go to Manage Establishments. I'm going to find Alex's Ales and attach it here. And now our Delicious Donuts grease control device is attached to two different establishments. So we're going to go back to our Delicious Donuts. Scroll down here, we can see our new grease control device, and we're going to move on to equipment. So equipment is not a section that every city chooses to use. However, if you'd like to keep track of maybe the deep fat fryers or the garbage grinders that are being used in your district, this is where you could put them. So Once again, totally customizable. You can enter any of the equipment that maybe is most used in your jurisdiction. We're just going to add some here to show you. So let's say we have a deep fat fryer and we can connect it to a grease control device. So I'm going to say yes, and we only have one on this establishment, so that's going to be it. And I'm going to hit save. So now we can see I have a deep fat fryer. If I want to go in and edit it, I'm going to just hit this little pencil. And if I need to delete this piece of equipment, I'll just hit this trash can right here. We'll keep scrolling down to contacts. This is a really important section on an establishment profile because, like I said earlier, this is who's going to get the notifications from your system. So even though there might be an email listed up in this section up here, that's not where the emails are going. They go to whoever you have listed in this section right here. So if I want to add or change contacts, I'm going to click Manage Contacts. I can either create a whole new contact, type of contact, maybe owner, maintenance director, phone number, email addresses. I can do more than one, but I'm going to go ahead and associate with an existing contact because I'm pretty sure Dave is right there. I hit save, and now Dave Donut is going to be receiving emails on behalf of Delicious Donuts. I can see that because he's listed right down here, and we can just go to his contact profile. So this is going to be his information. In the same way that we would edit an establishment, we can edit a contact. Something important to note is this mail subscription. So we can either subscribe or unsubscribe Dave Donut. If he's unsubscribed, he will still be attached on that establishment profile, but he's not going to receive messages, which is an important distinction. So maybe the establishment is temporarily closed and we don't want to send pump out notifications, or maybe they're changing management, but we want to keep the same owner operator on, but we're going to keep him subscribed for now. That's just an important piece of information. I'll hit save. Another piece on the contact page is down here in this activity center. We can see where I've created and added establishments. We can see notes we've made about Dave Donut, but we can also see the messages that have been sent to Dave Donut. So we've been asking him for a while, apparently, to send us grease reports. But this is where you can see the history of messages that have been sent from the system to this contact. So we sent him an inspection, a bunch of pieces of information here, and that's all listed in this messages section under Dave Donut's little unique information right here. And we're going to go back to his list of establishments. We can also see he's connected to more than one establishment. So that's really useful for, say, a district manager or somebody who is looking after several places. We can attach two establishments to one contact, similar to grease control devices. We've taken some time and looked at the static content on the left here, so now we're going to move over to some of the more dynamic content on the right. So we'll start up here with our note center. This is where we take notes. Notes are just used when you want to leave a piece of information on the profile, maybe talking to a different city regulator or one of us at SwiftComply, you need us to make a change. This is where you could do that. So I might write, change needed, need to ask about GCD. And we get to select the note type. So that's also totally customizable. We can choose what types of notes we have depending on your needs. I'm gonna say other. We can choose to attach files if there's some important information. I hit save, and now we can look down and see that I created a note, and that's all gonna be listed in our activity center. So the activity center is where anything we enter up here, any changes we make are going to show up in this section down here. So we can see like I created equipment, that grease trap, and that's all shows up in our activity center. For notes, if we want to look at notes specifically, this is where they're going to live. And if I wanted to edit this note or delete it, I can do so from these buttons on the right over here. So go straight to notes, and that's where I can edit, delete, view all the notes I've made. We'll go up here, new pump out. So this is where city regulators are mostly going to be entering pump outs, is from this page. Say your establishment needs to stay in compliance, or maybe the person's out of town. we can enter a pump out right here. So we have to have a provider to be able to enter a pump out. So just type the first few letters. We know we're looking for always ready pumpers and select them from the drop-down list. We'll say they got pumped out yesterday for 50 gallons, and we can choose a file. So I'm just going to pick one from my computer, but you could include a picture of the grease control device. If you're doing this pump out from an iPad or mobile device, this is where a camera would pop up and you could take a picture. The percentage of grease if you're required to do so, and we're required to have a disposal location. I'm just going to hit save, refresh the page really quick, and here we go. Delicious Donuts last pumped yesterday, and the next pump out, now it's not due till May 13th because we have a frequency of 12 weeks. I can come down here and see that this is where the pump out was entered. And if I want to edit this pump out, I can click right on it and change the information, say it was actually 500 gallons. And there we are. I'm going to hit save. This is just a spot for if you've made a change, you can make some notes about the change. Changed quantity. Submit. And now it's going to show up in our pump out section. This is a space we're going to explore in just a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my Delicious Donuts homepage. And we'll just take a brief look at inspections and enforcements. So inspections, you can create as many inspection templates as your city requires you to use. They're really quick to make, totally customizable. And these are great for when you're on the go, doing work on an iPad. You can just complete an inspection right here. And if we look at our template, we can pick a template. I'm just going to say inspection example. It was inspected yesterday. Has it been cleaned? Sure. It was cleaned yesterday. It is in compliance. This is of course customizable as well, but maybe you need to make a mark that it needs repair or it needs help. So I'm going to say it's compliant. We can add pictures, files, plans, and I'm going to hit close. And what that's going to do is close this inspection. That will take me to a second page with the inspection listed right here. And I can print this inspection out from this button right here, or I can email it directly to the person I need to have that inspection. So on site, we've just finished an inspection and I need to email it to the contact at that establishment. We can do so right here. Dave Donuts already popped up. I'm just going to hit send, and there he goes. There's our grease control. Inspection has been sent right over. If I need to edit this inspection, I can just hit open. They're going to make sure that's fine. And I can delete it with this button right here, or I can change the information. We'll go back to Delicious Donuts, and enforcements work in a really similar way. So once again, totally customizable forms. It comes with just a standard enforcement form when you start with SwiftComply. Enter the information, and we can hit save. So enforcements work in a similar way. Now we're going to take a look at the view for establishments. So from this establishment page, we're going to go to Actions and Online Profile. This brings us to the view that food service or auto establishments use when they log on to their profile. What's cool about this page is there's no login or username. There's just a unique link that all the establishments are going to use to access their profile. And that link is just right up in the search bar. You can't see it right now, but it's just the link that pops up. That's the unique link. That's how they access their profile. City providers can get that information by just going to Action, Online Profile, and that'll bring them back to the profile. Easy way to give them that information. So you see, it gives us a little bit of information about this establishment. It shows us who their service provider is. If there wasn't a service provider listed, there would be an option to choose a provider and a full list of providers that would show up here. And the last pump out information. And down here, we've got a little activity center, similar to what you've seen before. Pump outs, inspections, grease control devices, compliance history, and enforcements. This is also customizable, so you can choose what food service establishments have a view of. So if you don't want to include maybe inspections, you can take that off and they won't be able to see it. When they enter a pump out, they just come over here to this blue Submit Report button. And it's a really simple form. We can see that their provider is already entered for them. Pick the date, volume. In this choose file section, they can either choose a file if they're on a computer, or if they're doing it from a mobile device, it'll open their camera and they can take a picture of their grease control device, grease percentage, disposal location, and then we just hit save and it'll show up for them on their profile. Really simple, really useful for food service establishments. If we come back over here, we're just going to take a look at these tabs up top and see some of the search options. So we'll start with our grease control devices. So if we come down here, grease control device, you can search by name, which is why we name it the same name. So I can look up donuts. I can see Delicious Donuts. I can see their grease control device here. I can search by the establishment it's attached to, what type of grease control device it is, if I've attached a tag, if it's marked as not compliant, where it is, whether it's active. Those are all searchable properties. And then we can also export as well. So if you need a list of whatever you've generated here, just go to Actions, Export, and it will come up as a CSV. Once again, if you want to create a grease control device, there's Add GCD right here. We'll go back up, we'll go to our contacts section, and we'll take a look there. So this is where all of the contacts that have been created in your system are going to show up. Some of them might have information, you might have more than we do. You can search by name, the establishment they're associated with, and once again, you're able to export them as well. If you want to create a contact and you don't want to do it on the establishment page, same thing, you can go add contact from right here. Over to providers. This is our provider section, so it's where all of the providers are listed that are in your system. If we take a look at Always Ready Pumpers, we can see their page here. It's similar to others we've seen before. There's an option for notes. There's, if they had made pump outs, we can see a history of their pump outs right here, which is pretty useful. But I'll show you something. So Actions, Edit, takes me to this edit section. I can change their information. But this important little tick box here, I'll take your attention to. So back when we were on Delicious Donuts profile here, and I'll go back to their home page. If they didn't have a provider, there would be a list of providers here. Let's say Always Ready Pumpers is not one of my preferred pumpers and I don't want them to show up on establishments' profiles for choices. I'm just going to untick this box, and now Always Ready Pumpers is not going to show up when a food service establishment is searching for a new provider. So if you do function off of a preferred provider program, you can just use this box to control who gets to show up on food service establishments' profiles. Another little thing I'll draw your attention to is this SwiftQuote Provider ID section. If your provider has chosen to enroll in SwiftQuote, which is a one-stop shop for booking and scheduling pump outs, then their ID number will show up right here. We're going to go down, hit save. I want them to show up on my establishment profile. Another important piece on the provider profile is Actions and Invite. So this invite button right here. In order for a service provider to start making pump outs on behalf of establishments, they do need to be invited to the system so they can create a login and username. So if you have a service provider that has said they're going to start entering pump outs, we just type their email in here, click invite, and they'll receive a welcome email prompting them to create a login and username. So hit cancel. Just remember Actions and Invite, and that's how we let service providers create a profile in the system. Speaking of which, I will show you a service provider's profile and kind of their view. All right, and here we are on a service provider's profile. So when a service provider has been invited, they've created a login, this is what they'll see when they come in. You can see it's a watered down version of what city users get to see. We have their name. They can look at all of the establishments that are associated with their service. We can see their permits if they have any to upload there, and we can see all the pump outs that they've made. They can sort them from certain dates to certain dates or search by establishments. And when they're on their home page, really simple, if they want to add a pump out, they click that big green Add Pump Out button, and it's a very similar form that we've seen before. Simple information that they should have. They can add a file, or if they're doing this on their mobile, they can take a picture. Well, I believe that's all the information we have on our page for you today.
Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out. You can email me directly at sophie.schmidt@swiftcomply.com, or much easier, hello@swiftcomply.com. Thank you so much, and hope to hear from you soon.